video though for life here, bringing as a brand new deck profile, and today I wanted to bring you something that I was kind of thinking about earlier, because with how expensive Chaotic has been getting, especially for a lot of the high dollar cards, I wanted to give a try at a budget friendly deck, and this is my first real attempt at it. These cards should all be relatively easy to get. I haven't seen any of them get particularly expensive. Malif can get a bit expensive, but however, he's typically around 20, and I figure that's like affordable for most people. You know, instead of the 1,000 for Iflar or the 500 plus for Prince Mipedian Champion of the Guard. So I really wanted to give this a try and see what you guys think about it, because you know, I see a lot of people say, oh, I want to play Chaotic, but it's so expensive now, and so on and so forth. So hopefully this should be a fun little idea, and I hope you guys will like it. So today this is Mipedian Strike budget version. So I did a expensive version of Mipedian Strike a few years back when I had an Iflar, and I don't think I would really change too much in that deck. And for the most part, this is kind of the same build, really, but it's just obviously doesn't have Iflar and Prince Mipedian. There are some other big changes too, so let's go ahead and get talking about it. First up, for the front row, up front, we would definitely have Malif. Malif is a really good Mipedian striker, because he's got Invisibility Surprise and he's got Invisibility Strike 15. So that means he'll do a pretty good 15 more damage on his first attack, and of course thanks to Surprise he has the first go. Also on top of that, he has a really nice effect where when he wins combat, he goes back into the unoccupied space or into another unoccupied space. The idea is kind of like a hit and run, which is kind of like the whole idea with Mipedian Strike, where you hit fast and hit hard. So you kill the creature, then he jumps back into his spot so you can protect your guys in the back and also kind of just annoy the opponent. Or you can move one of your other guys up front and try and move around some other stuff to really try and be able to get at what your opponent has. On him, to just tackle on the damage, I have the Vlarix Shard. This gives him Earth 5, which is really, really handy since we mainly are running Earth and air attacks in this deck. Up front as well, we have Noaz, the Mipedian Cavalierist. So Noaz is really, really interesting. At the beginning of your turn, he gets Air 10 and Invisibility Surprise. He also has Swift 1, so of course he can move an extra spot and everything, which is pretty neat as well. The big thing is that he's a really good beater for that. He's got Air 10 and is just able to move fast and hit hard with his pretty good stats too. He's got freaking 100 speed, typically around that. So you can also throw in some speed attacks, of course, for good old Mipedian decks. Malif has 110, so we got some speed attacks in here as well, but focusing on that air and earth. On him, I got the Torwig for Air 5. Just for the extra air damage as well, basically giving him Air 15, which is pretty beefy. And then we got Como up front. This is the best version of Como. I know that there's like two other versions of him. There's Como Sismoted, which we can't play because that's a Danian. And then there's Como Purified. Now Purified's okay, he's got a pretty good effect. But the big thing with the original Como is that not only does he have a whopping 70 energy, which is ridiculous, his main stats are pretty just kind of okay, but he's got range and Swift 1, so he can jump over and go after your opponents like Magicians and stuff if they got it in the back row. And on top of that, he is one of only like a handful, actually I think 3 or 4 Mipedians that has Invisibility Disarm inherently, and he's the best one. Ribian is very, very close to being a good card if he just had more standard energy. And then the other Mipedian that has Disarm is just garbage. Like it really is, no elements or anything like that. So, and due to that, Colmo's just the objective best one. He's got a good hefty energy, he's got Disarm, and then he's also got range and Swift. He is unique as well, which is a bit annoying, but oh well. And then he does extra damage for Danians if he's battling a Danian, which is cool, but it's not going to come up too often unless you're doing against a Danian player. The big thing though is that Disarm, which if you guys don't know because it's so rare, Disarm makes it so that whenever he battles, your opponent's creature doesn't flip over their battle gear, which is hilarious, and it's just really can screw over stuff. So he and Malif are like your two main attackers along with Noaz. And on him, in order to give him more access to more of our attacks, we got Earth. We got the Citadel Lodestone on him to give him Earth. Good old Como does not have particularly great stats. His speed is garbage at 35. So really, he's not going to be winning any challenges or checks or anything like that. So we really want to focus on that Earth and Air aspect to him. So Citadel Lodestone it is. Moving on to the middle row, we got another Noaz. Noaz, again, he's just another attacker. He's got Swift 1, so it doesn't really hurt too bad to put him in the back. And then, since I don't actually have another Torluig or Flarg Shard, for some reason, I'm going to give him the Double Edge. This can give him Air, Earth, or whatever 5, but it also gives him Recklessness 5. It's not the worst thing in the world. And then something I really wanted to try, because I wanted an excuse to play him, is Marquis Darini. So Marquis Darini, he's got Air and Fire, which is just kind of weird for Mipedian. And his stats are kind of okay all around. He's got 35 energy, so provided he doesn't get killed, he can possibly maybe do some damage with his elements. But the big thing is that creatures you control with invisibility deal an additional 5 attack damage on their first attack. So therefore, you can do, it's just another way of stacking up that damage, because the whole point of Mipedians is at least with Mipedian Strike, is trying to kill quick, preferably even in 1 attack, maybe 2. Mipedians are typically pretty squishy, so therefore trying to just add on that damage, like for instance with Noaz up front with the Torwig, that's Air 15, so if you throw an Air Assault, that's going to be 30 damage plus 5 more with Marquis Darini. That 5 damage might not seem like a lot, but it can add up big time with each combat. So it just really does help out a lot. You don't have to play him. You can totally play another Magician. Probably argue. I don't have Henry Hep, either of his forms. Otherwise, you could totally play him. And honestly, if this wasn't the budget version, this would totally be Prince Medinu Champion, because Champion gives everybody Invisibility Surprise. So you kind of gotta play him if you have him. He's also a much better fighter, but I digress. And then on him, I gave him the Mipedian Baldir Flute just to be able to get some extra Magicians in on net. Next up, for the final guy, we got Dibani. Why did I think his name was Dibian? Dibani is one of the better cheap Mipedian Magicians. He's got two Magicians right away. Has okay stats all around, no elements unfortunately. And then also he has a pretty interesting effect where you can just pay a Magician counter to give another Magician counter to another creature. So if like, you know, like let's say your opponent like jumps over a bunch and attacks him or something, or goes to like double hit him with 2 cannon of casualties, you can use his effect to give like Marquis Darini all of his Magician counters. So then you don't have to worry about him dying. I mean, well, you losing all your Magician counters, which is pretty nice. There's also some other shenanigans you can do with that that I don't have for this, but that is really interesting. And then just for extra Magician counters, I gave him the Mipedian Baldir Flute. Moving on to the attacks. First up for the 2 big hitters, I got Before the Storm and Ultimate War Stance. Before the Storm is a 15 damage attack with 15 air, and then if your creature has air, this is treated as the first attack this turn. And then Ultimate War Stance does 5 base, but 10 air, 10 earth. And if you have air and earth, the next attack that gets thrown down deals 0 damage. So you hit your opponent for 25 damage with it, and then their next attack can't do any damage to you. So if like, let's say you're doing against a War Beast deck and they have been holding on to that Slash Claw, you hit them with this, do 25 damage, probably with air, like especially with like Noaz, it'll be actually more like, let's see here, air 10, air 5, plus the 5 damage from Marquis Darini. So you're talking what, 55 damage, give or take. I'm probably about wrong there, but 55 damage around there. That's gonna one-shot a lot of creatures. Same thing with Before the Storm. So very, very, very powerful attacks here. Definitely warranted for having 4 stars. Level 4 build count. Why did I say 4 stars? Next up, we got 2 Thunder Shots. If you have Slow Sand, you can play that, and it's probably better to play Slow Sand. They do the exact same thing, except Slow Sand also makes it to where your opponent's creature loses like 25 speed or something. Just kind of helps get those stat checks and challenges going. But however, I don't have Slow Sand, so I'm just kind of relying on Thunder Shot right now. 10 Earth, 10 Air, pretty standard. Sand Strike for 5 base, 5 air, 5 earth. If you have a non-Mipedian, it does 0 damage. Earth Pulse, Air Salt for big heavy hitters, that's a 1-drop. Mineral Mayhem, pretty much a requirement for decks that can play it. Basically, you can choose to have it do no damage and then increase your creature's courage by 100. This is really, really handy if you're doing against somebody who's got like Lord Von Plute, Servant of Ayin, because that can screw over a lot of elemental decks like this one. Sunder Ground, basically just another 0-drop, 10 damage, or usually a finisher. Same thing with Hurricane. Velocitrap for our speed attack, it's just another good 0-drop. Challenge speed 15, deal 10 damage. Most of our creatures should be able to make that. Air Eyes, it does 0 damage if your opponent has air, but hey, 5 air isn't half bad. And that's the end of our attacks. Moving on to the Magicians, let's see here. I tried to keep a pretty good mix up. So first and foremost, we got Trills of Diminution. Basically, target creature loses its abilities this turn. Very handy for dealing with something that can kill your creatures fast. Like you can negate Cure to Fierce so he doesn't have Fire 25 or whatever. So very, very nice. Then we also basically got the same thing, but for locations. Notes of Neverwhere negates the locations effects, so that then you don't have to worry about that. Then we got Tune of Zerium, basically sacrifice a battle gear, replace it with a battle gear in your graveyard. This is just handy for being able to get back stuff sometimes, which is pretty neat. Fanfare to Vanishing. If I had more than 1 copy, I would be playing multiple copies of this, okay? Like, in all honesty, if I had 2 Fanfare to Vanishing, I'd replace Tune of Zerium for another Fanfare. Fanfare is so ridiculous. So basically pay 1, target a creature you control, it gets Invisibility Strike 15. So therefore, if like your opponent's got a really high energy creature, or a creature that like you know you're gonna have to take out in like 1 or 2 hits, preferably 1 hit because it will kill your whole team, you basically just drop this on your creature. Oh, hey, that 50 damage that No Oz is going to do with Ultimate War Stance, it gets jumped up to 65. That will kill a lot of creatures very, very quickly. Next up, we got Symphony of the Guard. I don't know why I couldn't read that. Basically, target creature gains 5 or air 5 and air 5. If you control only Mipedians, it also gets Outperform air challenge speed. Again, another card that if I had multiple of, I'd probably play multiple of. And then good old Cadence Clash for negating music. I only have 1, and also it's banned into Discord, so yeah. If you can't play, if you don't want to, like, if you want to adhere to the ban list, you can totally play Geoflorus instead. I like to be able to negate music, and it's the only 1-drop music negator that Mipedians have access to. At least the only one that I know of. Next up, we got good old Mipedian Valley, or Mipedian Valley. Initiative is water for some weird reason, and creatures without air do not flip up their battle gear at the beginning of combat, which is pretty handy. Then we got 2 Riverlands, Abandoned Waste. I could not read that for the life of me. So this is really nice for just basically getting a mulligan with your attack hand. It also gives your opponent a mulligan, which is a bit annoying. Basically, when it's flipped over, each player shuffles their attack hand into their attack deck and draws 2, which is pretty neat. Next up, we got Rapace to the Ocean with no water. Air and Earth attacks deal an additional 5 damage, and then water attacks basically get rid of this card. Initiative is fire, so Marquis is happy, but no one else is. Hopefully though, with invisibility, we should be getting our first attacks in. Lore's Chamber of Recall. This deck has no revival, so don't really care if like this flips over and gets rid of everything in the graveyards. That can really screw over some decks out there, like Underworld and Danians especially. And then finally, for the last 2, Rock River Canyon, which gives creatures an additional 10 energy if they have Earth, and Foothold Assault Trench, which gives your creatures an additional 5 damage if you control nothing but the same track. And that is it. So this is my budget friendly, hopefully. I've double checked and everything should be pretty cheap. But this is my budget friendly version of Mipedian Strike. I hope you guys like it. If you guys have any ideas, recommendations, or concerns, please leave your comments down below. Rate, comment, and subscribe, and see y'all later. Peace out. Thank you all for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please consider rating, commenting, and subscribing to my channel. It all goes a long way to helping out me and my channel. And also, if you do, please consider following me on social media, as well as also checking out my other channels. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day. Peace out.